is the application profile sheet you have to fill out for the eligibility application. That has a mission statement. What is your mission statement? Doesn't talk about how you arrived at and so on, but that is important. There's a lot of IT also there.
Yes, IT person. I think the AD person has to come, right? Maybe you can pause for a few minutes.
All right, take this out and then. This is the applicant profile sheet, which includes all this mission statement, annual budget, and what is institution revenue, expenditure, schools revenue. Institute means university level, and the schools also, they ask for it. And scope is only programs to be accredited. If you want to exclude some programs, you would list only the ones that you want to be included. And location where each program is offered, but here I think it's all offered here only. And number of degrees conferred most recently and so on. That's the applicant profile sheet. It has about the enrollment, institutional enrollment, meaning for the university, business school, full-time, part-time, total, and so on. These are all just statistics. You will have that. Numbers in each discipline, and that by degree-wise you have to list PhD, masters, and so on. So the actual application, that's all profile sheet. The actual application has several parts. First is some institutional contact information, where they can contact, and phone numbers, email, and so on. Okay? Okay. Then comes the background information. What you should provide here is basically some information about, talk about, should provide information about the educational scenario in the country, because AACSB is international, so they have only one document. They don't have one for US, one for other things. So the statements will be general. So they say provide a description of the educational system, and for us it will be educational system in India. I think what I would suggest is use the school level, undergraduate and graduate programs, what we have, and the university system, degree granting, PGDM, and so on, postgraduate diplomas, AICTE, UGC, and so on. So you have to give a brief description of that. Then the vision and mission. Again, they don't ask any details, but just you have to give what the mission statement, mission, and so on. Now, about autonomy, you have to talk. You have what autonomy you have within the university organizational structure. And then commitment of senior management for getting AACSB accreditation. So they want to know whether, for instance, the dean and the university level, they are all committed to this. Or sometimes what happens is, these are general statements, sometimes what happens is the dean decides we should get AACSB accredited. But the university may not be interested. What is this? Why do we need this AACSB and so on? So there may be no commitment from the university side, the dean may decide. Okay? So they want to make sure that there is a commitment at the university level as well. And student enrollment in each of the degree programs, university and the business school, and so on. Then they ask for these 5 comparable AACSB accredited schools. That is something you have to give some thought. Which are the schools you compare yourself? It could be aspirational, but should not be too aspirational in the sense, at least by the time you get accreditation, you should be fairly close to those comparable schools. You may not be right now, but by the time you get accreditation, you may not be exactly like that, but at least fairly close to that. So this is something important you have to think about, what schools aspiring to be. Have you given some thought to it? I think it was filled out. I saw in the earlier one, they said, I am Calcutta. I don't know whether you want to do that. Yeah.
So a couple of things in this, one is, within the AACSB thing also, there is a search by which if you put the right kind of data, they will be able to throw you what kind of school, whether it's where you want to be. So that's one thing to elect. The second thing is part of the strategic plan that we will be doing, there will be benchmarks.
Yeah.
So we can choose them as well. Remember we picked up certain names?
Yeah.
So as a part of the business plan, we'll be researching those schools completely to to see how do we.
Yes, so here let me just make a mention. The pre-eligibility application form that we had submitted to Dr. Tapan Panda, July 2018. So that is with Gunjan Mohan, Professor Gunjan Mohan, and in that we had 5 similar universities. We had our vision, mission. It is a complete document as on that date. Attended by several people, but the rest of them, and some of them are here, and it was conducted very well by a AACSB designated official who is doing lots of, in foreign universities, he is nominated as a mentor. So Professor Lakshmi Agarwal, yes.
I see.
She is doing in Bangladesh, in Malaysia. She just had 2 days back in August in Hyderabad.
She is from AACSB.
Yes, from AACSB. Yes.
Okay.
And this document may be looked at, we have given this. So he has put up the page. We can also show what was available. So these were the institutes which were above or just below or similar to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we have seen that.
You have seen that.
Because we have seen that material,
Yes,
so we are
yes.
aware of the names
So,
that
yes.
you put in. But I think we just like to re-examine that.
Yes,
see what-
definitely, because now there are changes.
That's
There are
right.
changes.
The second thing is, even the vision and the mission thing is something that we would like to re-examine. The second thing is
Yes.
that. And the third thing is that after the end of the day today, we need to work out what we are going to be doing in the next few months.
Right.
A couple of months. And one of the exercises is to start looking at this document and see how do you want to edit it, rewrite it, whatever.
So I'll just make one last statement. It is very important for us and the dean to understand which year, which school, which course, BBA, MBA, and of which year, because there is a lot of changes taking place, and I have been part of several things here. So it is in fluid state, and our professors are also doing it a lot. But the point is, which school, that means BBA, MBA or PhD, because now we have 5 students in that. Executive education we did not have, we are not doing any. So which year you would like to take, because that should be our standard.
Which year we would like to take?
Yeah, so which year is very important, because
You have to, most up-to-date one, so,
yes, most up to date.
Yeah.
So that is-
which would be either this year, basically, if you have, because your enrollments, everything would have been over.
This past year. So we cannot talk about the next year, 1920.
But number of students enrolled, see, by the time your application will go, it will be almost April, so you would have all the data.
Because that is the table 1 and table 2 that we really
Yeah.
need. We have to start from there.
Yeah.
That is the trick, maybe that is what I understood.
See,
Then
what
on
you
top
have,
of that,
what I would do normally is fill it out for the year you have. Just before submitting, it's only a question of updating the numbers.
Exactly. And numbers, just
Yeah.
like first looking at the vision, mission, and where we want to be. That 5 names is the strategy.
Yeah, sorry, 5 names.
Deciding those names, earlier probably we thought of like we are going to compare MBA, but we are very strong BBA presence now. So that I'm looking at, I'm taking the example. We should be looking at a strong program who's like in India.
So one is to look at the institution level, okay, that's one thing. Okay. And I'm not only speaking from the AACSB perspective, but also from the state perspective. And then see, so institution level. The other thing is to look at program level. So for instance, BCom, who do you want to benchmark
Yes,
yourself?
absolutely. That's also institution level, and then go down to the program level.
Exactly.
So that would be interesting.
Because I was thinking about this, very clearly these are 3 very different products, right, for different. So we have to look at very different kinds of competition in the market.
Absolutely. Agree.
Yeah, the 5 schools that you choose may cover your different products. Not one school is for all the products, but
May or may not emerge, because let's say, for example, BCom, and I don't know too much about it. Let's say Sri Ram College of Commerce. When BBA, I don't know whether they run a BBA course or not, but which are the good BBA courses? I would like to see that. What they're doing.
no, but like BCom, you have IIM Indore and so on. No?
They do. BCom,
They call it integrated IBM.
but BCom,
I-
3-year BCom.
3 years is BBA, not BBA. BBA, okay.
We cannot touch the BCom now. We
No,
cannot-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I meant to say BBA. came out.
Yeah.
BBA, there are schools, like, I mean, ICFA is a big one, but ICFA is not accredited as of now.
NMIMS does BBA? No.
NMIMS does, I think.
FIIB, who has a membership is there. Then we have in Pune, we have FORE, right? So we have.
So we would like to study that a little bit and see.
So it can be only Indian schools, it cannot.
No, it doesn't have
Or
to.
it could be global.
In fact, it is better if you can have one or two schools, global schools.
So symbiosis research we recently got
Yeah.
the AACSB in December. So that can be, it's a research and it is a BBA, MBA. So that can be benchmarked also. That is important.
So, yeah, the idea is to look at the institution
Yes.
level and then decide about the program, how do we sort of see it. And we have looked at a few global schools.
Yeah. You may want to look at some in Bangkok or Thailand or something like that, or Malaysia. Okay. Okay, the 6 criteria. One, we'll get into a little more details as we go to the next slides. Ethical behavior is one. That means everybody behaves in an ethical manner, but we'll see the difference. Collegiate environment. AACSB is big on collegiate environment. That means basically faculty are not fighting with each other, fighting against the dean or something like that. That's
That was collegiality. I thought that was the indication. The more fights, the more collegial it is.
commitment to corporate and social responsibility. You have to say you're committed. Accreditation scope and membership. You have scope is which programs. If you are not offering some programs for accreditation, you have to exclusion statements and so on.
These ethical behaviors are we need to include the various committees that we have, for example, for research ethics, we have.
Yeah, we'll come to the detail, little more details, and then we'll see, little more. Now, there we can discuss. But the document has complete details, and they have some examples and so on. Here, this slide is only about the titles, and then we'll go into each one in little more depth, like we did for standards. We didn't cover the complete thing about each standard, but at least some parts. Scope and membership, and then oversight, sustainability, and continuous improvement. AACSB is also big on continuous improvement, so you have to show what mechanisms or procedures you have for continuous improvement. And policy on adherence to standards and integrity of submission to AACSB. So you have to state that what you have given is true and correct, and if they reserve the right, if they find something wrong, they may withdraw, and things like that. So let's look at each one, ethical behavior, in little bit more detail, not complete detail, but should encourage and support ethical behavior by students, faculty, administrators, and professional staff, all of them. So if you have published policies, AACSB is again big on documents, just saying that, yeah, we have and so on. They say, well, okay, do you have any document on policy? They'll ask you. Not all of them you necessarily have to send, but you have to keep them available. So that if they ask you, you should be able to produce quickly. You can't say, oh, I have to dig up somewhere and it may take me 1 week or something, then they'll worry. Okay? Okay. Student handbook and honor code will be one such, and then faculty handbook. These are just illustrations. Guidelines for promoting excellence in ethical practices, if you have anything, in both in research and also. Yeah. Roles and responsibilities, professional staff, okay, are also important. Professional staff will include if you have any research associates and teaching assistants.
So here I had a question yesterday also, for example, this teaching staff, do we define who is a faculty for us? Because we have assistant professors and then we have senior research associates also who are faculty.
Senior research associates.
SRAs. I think those.
So the SRAs essentially are people who are awaiting their PhD, their ABTs.
Yeah,
The day they get their PhD, they become assistant professors.
yeah, so they have to be, do they teach? They teach, right?
It's independently. They are
So-
otherwise indistinguishable.
Yeah, so they should be included as part of the faculty, as ABDs basically.
ABTs. Okay.
They would be part of your faculty. So they provide for, they can be scholarly, I mean, in terms of the classification, But I think they allow only about 10% of you, or something like that. There's some restriction.
Okay.
By the time we,
Yeah.
so maybe
You can't say for
I think we have to look at
You can't have the extreme case. I always like to give extreme cases to illustrate. You say, I have 50 faculty out of which 45 are ABDs or something like that, you know. So something.
there's another way around for us, by 45
Yeah. Okay, you have any programs to educate stakeholders about ethical policies and procedures, whether you conduct some programs for them or some even sessions for any of this, your students or faculty? So, sorry? Course on ethics will be one. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, that's all you should list.
And also, if we have a university-wide, let's say, committee which takes care of this, that can become part, for example,
Yeah.
we have a research ethics board,
Yeah, all that should.
university-wide, but not
Attended by several people, but the rest of them, and some of them are here, and it was conducted very well by a AACSB designated official who is doing lots of, in foreign universities, he is nominated as a mentor. So Professor
So-
Lakshmi Agarwal, yes.
I see.
She is doing in Bangladesh, in Malaysia. She just had 2 days back in August in Hyderabad. She had around
She is from AACSB.
Yes, from AACSB, yes.
Okay.
And this document may be looked at, we have given this, so he has put up the page. We can also show what was available. So these were the institutes which were above or just below or similar to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we have seen that.
You have seen that.
Because we
Yeah.
have sent that material to
Yes,
us, so we are
yes.
aware of the names
So,
that
yes.
you put in. But I think we just like to re-examine that.
Yes,
see what-
definitely, because now there are changes.
That's
There are
right.
changes.
The second thing is, even the vision and the mission thing is something that we would like to re-examine. The second thing is
Yes.
that. And the third thing is that after the end of the day today, we need to work out what we are going to be doing in the next few months.
Right.
A couple of months. And one of the exercises is to start looking at this document and see how do you want to edit it, rewrite it, whatever.
Yeah. So I'll just make one last statement. It is very important for us and the dean to understand which year, which school, which course, BBA, MBA, and of which year, because there is a lot of changes taking place, and I have been part of several things here. So it is in fluid state, and our professors are also doing it a lot. But the point is, which school, that means BBA, MBA or PhD, because now we have 5 students in that. Executive education we did not have, we are not doing any. So which year you would like to take, because that should be our standard.
Which year we would like to take?
Yeah, so which year is very important, because.
You have
I
to,
understand that.
most up-to-date one, so.
Yes, most up to date.
Yeah.
So that is-
Which would be either this year, basically, if you have, because your enrollments, everything would have been over.
This past year. So we cannot talk about the next year, 1920.
But number of students enrolled, see, by the time your application will go, it will be almost April, so you would have all the data.
Because that is the table 1 and table 2 that we
Yeah.
really need. We have to start from there.
Yeah.
That is the trick, maybe that is what I understood.
See,
Then
what
on
you
top
have,
of that,
what I would do normally is fill it out for the year you have. Just before submitting, it's only a question of updating the numbers.
Exactly. And numbers, just
Yeah.
like first looking at the vision, mission, and where we want to be. That 5 names is the strategy.
Yeah, sorry, 5 names.
Deciding those names, earlier probably we thought of like we are going to compare MBA, but we are very strong BBA presence now. So there looking at, I'm taking the example, we should be looking at a strong program who's like in out.
So one is to look at the institution level, okay, that's one thing. Okay. And I'm not only speaking from the AACSB perspective, but also from the state perspective. And then see, so institution level. The other thing is to look at program level. So for instance, BCom, who do you want to benchmark
Yes,
yourself?
absolutely. That's also institution level and then go down to the program level.
Exactly.
So that would be interesting.
Because I was thinking about this, very clearly these are 3 very different products, right, for different. So we have to look at very different kinds of competition in the market.
Absolutely. Agree.
Yeah, the 5 schools that you choose may cover your different products. Not one school is for all the products, but
May or may not come up, because let's say, for example, BCom, and I don't know too much Sri Ram College of Commerce. I mean BBA, I don't know whether they run a BBA course or not, but which are the good BBA courses? They're ranking. We would like to see that. What they're doing.
No, but like become, you have IIM Indore and so on. No?
They do.
I'm Indore.
They call it integrated IBM.
But BCom,
I-
3-year BBA.
3 years is BBA, not BBA. BBA, okay.
We cannot touch the BCom now. We
No,
cannot-
I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to say BBA. Came out, yeah.
BBA, there are schools, like, I mean, ICFA is a big one, but ICFA is not accredited as of now.
NMIMS does BBA? No.
NMIMS does, I think.
FIIB, who has a membership is there, then we have in Pune, we have FORE, right? So we have.
So we would like to study that a little bit and see.
So it can be only Indian schools, it cannot.
No, it doesn't have
Or
to.
it could be global.
In fact, it is better if you can have 1 or 2 schools, global schools.
So Symbiosis research we recently got
Yeah.
the AACSB in December, so that can be, it's a research and it is a BBA, MBA, so that can be benchmarked also. That is important.
So, yeah, the idea is to look at the institution
Yes.
level and then decide about the program, how do we sort of see it. And we have looked at a few global schools.
Yeah. You may want to look at some in Bangkok or Thailand or something like that, or Malaysia. Okay. Okay, the 6 criteria. One, we'll get into a little more details as we go to the next slides. Ethical behavior is one. That means everybody behaves in an ethical manner, but we'll see the difference. Collegiate environment. AACSB is big on collegiate environment. That means basically faculty are not fighting with each other, fighting against the dean or something like that. That's
That was collegiality. I thought that was the indication. The more fights, the more collegial it is.
commitment to corporate and social responsibility. You have to say you're committed. Accreditation scope and membership. You have scope is which programs. If you are not offering some programs for accreditation, you have to exclusion statements and so on.
These ethical behaviors, we need to include the various committees that we have, for example, for research ethics, we have.
Yeah, we'll come to the detail, little more details, and then we'll see, little more. Now, there we can discuss. But the document has complete details, and they have some examples and so on. Here, this slide is only about the titles, and then we'll go into each one in little more depth, like we did for standards. We didn't cover the complete thing about each standard, but at least some parts. Scope and membership, and then oversight, sustainability, and continuous improvement. AACSB is also big on continuous improvement, so you have to show what mechanisms or procedures you have for continuous improvement. And policy on adherence to standards and integrity of submission to AACSB. So you have to state that what you have given is true and correct, and if they reserve the right, if they find something wrong, they may withdraw, and things like that. So let's look at each one, ethical behavior, in little bit more detail, not complete detail, but should encourage and support ethical behavior by students, faculty, administrators, and professional staff, all of them. So if you have published policies, AACSB is again big on documents, just saying that, yeah, we have and so on. They say, well, okay, do you have any document on policy? They'll ask you. Not all of them you necessarily have to send, but you have to keep them available. So that if they ask you, you should be able to produce quickly. You can't say, oh, I have to dig up somewhere and it may take me 1 week or something, then they'll worry. Okay? Okay. Student handbook and honor code will be one such, and then faculty handbook. These are just illustrations. Guidelines for promoting excellence in ethical practices, if you have anything, in both in research and also. Yeah. Roles and responsibilities, professional staff, okay, are also important. Professional staff will include if you have any research associates and teaching assistants.
So here I had a question yesterday also, for example, this teaching staff, do we define who is a faculty for us? Because we have assistant professors and then we have senior research associates also who are faculty.
Senior research associates.
SRAs. I think those, so.
So the SRAs essentially are people who are awaiting their
Yeah,
The day they get their PhD, they become assistant professors.
yeah, so they have to be, do they teach? They teach, right?
Teach independently, they are
So-
otherwise indistinguishable.
Yeah, yeah,
from
so
the
they should be included as part of the faculty, as ABDs, basically.
ABDs.
They would be part of your faculty. So they provide for, they can be scholarly, I mean, in terms of the classification, but I think they allow only about 10% of you, something like that. There's some restriction.
Okay.
By the time we,
Yeah.
so maybe
You can't say, for,
I think we have to look at
you can't have the extreme case. I always like to give extreme cases to illustrate. You say, I have 50 faculty out of which 45 are ABDs or something like that, or something.
there's another way around for us, like 45
Yeah. Okay, you have any programs to educate stakeholders about ethical policies and procedures, whether you conduct some programs for them or some even sessions for any of this, your students or faculty? Sorry? Course on ethics will be one. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, that's all you should list.
And also, if we have a university-wide, let's say, committee which takes care of this, that can become part, for example,
Yeah.
we have a research ethics board,
Yeah, all that should.
university-wide, but not as all that.
So I don't know if you have any past experience, you detected some ethical violation and you took some action and so on. Just to say, if you have, you can say that so that they will know that it is.
So we do it regularly in the exam
And we
section.
find breaches all the time.
Right. Don't say all the time, then they'll be worried. We found this instance and then we did.
They are given.
Okay? So this sort of illustrates, but this is more, they give examples and so on. Collegiate environment is the next one. So all these you have to give, descriptions have to be given, okay? So students, faculty, administrators collaborate in various activities, there's collegiality is the thing. So of course, here they want, I don't know, this is sort of slightly misplaced here in the, I would have thought, but they say overview of degree programs, evidence that the quality is adequate or better. Okay, I don't know why it comes in here, it should have been elsewhere. So examples of activities that demonstrate the ways in which students, faculty and the stakeholders interact. That's the kind of thing you need to give. That is one of the important things. So you have co-curricular activities with faculty involved with the students and so on, okay? So how you support the interaction. So school is in favor of having this, maybe even some financial support for some of these activities and so on, if it will be useful.
The dean always approves such activities.
So you can say the dean is a strong supporter of this.
Yes, indeed.
But they want some evidence. So you have to say this program and these programs, list of programs so that the deans are approved or attached or something like that.
We'll provide one.
So all these conferences, let's say we do a conference or we do a seminar, we do a conclave sort of thing, all that activities should come here where student, faculty.
Student, faculty, well, students and faculty are
they
involved.
work together,
Yeah,
organize the event.
yeah, all those, yeah. So how, this is actually faculty, AACSB, another thing, they're big on faculty involvement. As I said, the vision, mission also, they want the faculty, all stakeholders, but particularly faculty. But they also realize in a university system, faculty is not the final authority to decision making. There will be a governing council or some top management of the university will approve. But whether the discussions have taken place, whether the faculty are aware of what is going on, some things may be changed at the top level. That's not so much concern. Of course, if you ignore the whole thing and then they go do something else, then they won't like it. But deliberations of the faculty, this was the thing recommended. There may be final one that's adopted, maybe some changes. They realize that. But if you just say, for instance, I don't know how the university one was arrived at, but they come and, not the university but the school, they're talking to faculty. The faculty member says, no, I don't know anything how this mission statement came about, I know something. If one faculty says, or one or two says, they know. In any university, any system, there will be some people who make all this says. But if a large number of faculty say that, then there's an issue. So that's why the involvement is there. That they understand that the faculty is not the final decision making in terms of finalizing the vision mission statement. Okay. Sorry?
Very right. We have to encourage all more faculty participation.
Patient, yeah.
Which we were missing in this previous 1.5 years. So we used to send them by mail, they never read, or they read because of paucity of time. So they would not. So I would also.
One is reading.
When you show this presentation, you also present what we had already done, because the chair of the team, while I will be away, will understand, and his members will understand that what we have done with respect to all these 5 criteria.
So you have that presentation?
Yeah, we have. I have given it last year when you had come. Yeah.
We had all the documents, but you want to, okay.
It is by.
Yeah, I've seen the document. Yeah, I've seen the
So
document.
if that comes for 10 minutes, so they understand, yes, we have done some work.
No, we don't have a soft copy. If you have one, you want to, you can put it up after.
Have a look at it. Yeah, when I did the part of the job from the end of the day is to look at that document
Yes,
and see how do you
yes.
build it.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's the
very
base.
much.
That's
Yes,
the base.
because that will help me to,
Sure.
while I'm away, but I will always be on Skype when your meetings will happen.
Sure.
So during that period,
Yeah.
so at least it comes at a level that what we had already done.
Yeah, no, you've done quite a bit of work, so
Yes.
there is you have to build on it and modify and
Thank
things
you
like
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So governance process including how faculty are engaged in various decisions, that's important. Documents such as statement of values, faculty student handbooks, characterize the culture and environment of the school. Whatever, these should be, you can send it as annexures, you don't write it as such, okay. So how you promote scholarship, scholarly approaches for advanced learning. This is important in the sense, AACSB is, and it's true also in many institutions, they'll say, we want faculty to publish a lot and so on. But they don't even support faculty going to conferences or anything like that, no research support.
We have SD.
No, I'm just saying, as I said earlier, this is repeating, I give the extreme cases where to illustrate the point. I'm not saying you are doing that. So they're worried about those kinds of things. So you have to list all that. Okay, processes for reviewing and updating curricula, that's important also. How often do you do that? Do you have a comprehensive thing? Typically, I would say, of course, you can say it's fine-tuned every year because the faculty may be adding some topics in the course, removing some topics and so on. But every 3 or 5 years or approximately, depends upon the school, some comprehensive review. Okay? Okay, that is criterion B. Criterion C, nowadays they are becoming very important, corporate and social responsibility. I actually coined this term long ago, but my faculty member said, when I was at IIM Bangalore, I said, you're talking about corporate social responsibility, or talk about institutional social responsibility. Institute also has, of course, now I think emphasis on corporate social responsibility is fine, but sometimes people think that only the corporates have to be socially responsible. I don't have to be socially responsible. But everybody has to be socially responsible. So they're talking about how corporate social responsibility as opposed for the institute, how the institute is showing the responsibility. So policies, procedures, curricular research and outreach activities that show a commitment to address and engage, expand corporate social responsibility issues as far as the institute is concerned. Not so much about some corporate social responsibility of some corporation, but institute. How you are doing diversity, sustainable development, and globalization of activities across cultures, how the institute, either through programs or projects or whatever it is, how you are doing that, being socially responsible as an institute. Okay? So, you have a question? You see, again, is this difference, AACSB is international, so they have to cater to the whole world in some sense. So you might define diversity could be different kinds of diversity. Gender diversity is one, educational background diversity, geographical diversity. So you can have different kinds of diversity. So what are you emphasizing? You may be emphasizing gender diversity, or you may be emphasizing more regional background diversity. So you have to spell out that. Just simply saying school encourages diversity is not enough in the sense. Diversity of what? That's what they will say. Okay? Okay. So, for instance, historical tradition school may be emphasizing on getting students from the weaker sections or something, because historically you might say they have not had opportunities and so on.
We do have an LLB system.
Yeah.
It's included.
Okay. So all those kinds of things. So legal and regulatory environment pertaining to CSR, pertaining to that where there's some restrictions, what you can do, what you have to do. Sometimes you are forced to do that kind of thing and so on. So evidence that school values diverse viewpoints among its stakeholders. This sometimes is difficult, but you might be able to have some, if you had some meetings or something. Documentation is important. If you had some meetings about stakeholders, about the responsibilities and so on, it's better to minute the meetings and have the record of those. So this is another thing. Overview of the population that the school serves and describe how the school provides opportunities for underserved populations, if you have any such policies. Or this is there, as I said earlier, AACSB is looking at different types of schools. That's why I always say people sometimes get confused. AACSB accreditation means about quality, and quality is what? Quality is conformance to specification. So what you have specified, are you delivering? That's it. Now it's not about quality is this car is superior to the other car or something like that. This institute is superior. Sometimes people get confused and say, oh, how come AACSB accreditation is there for let's say Wharton and also for some school in the south which I never heard of and so on. No? So it's not a ranking of the schools. It's more whether they're delivering what they are, and they realize that the schools have different missions, different visions and so on, and the accreditation is basically whether you're delivering what you're promising. Of course, as I said yesterday, you have to promise something substantial, not just simply say, I'll run some program and the kind of thing. Okay? Okay. Describe how the students and faculty show a commitment to diversity and corporate social responsibility. The faculty may be involved in some social activities or maybe on some committees. Students may be undertaking projects and so on, all that. Okay. So this is criterion C. Criterion D is basically you have the membership scope, which programs will be included, which programs will not be included. So there's a table you have to give programs to be included, programs to be excluded, and request for program exclusion you have to submit if you are excluded.
Earlier we had given about the BCom is
BCom,
phased
yeah.
out, being phased out. So
Yeah.
now we have
Yeah.
correct that.
And if you want some programs to be excluded, you have to give a justification. If you want programs to be included also that are not, you have to give a justification. But you have to be a little careful whether you want some, say for instance, yesterday we were talking about whether you want to include the business, the finance and so on. What the implications of that, I think somebody from AACSB would be able to give us more details. You don't want to include and then get into trouble. Because once you include, they would want all kinds of things from that school and so on.
Why I asked that question is because I recall in Bangalore when we were working this with IFIM, we were planning to introduce a course on business analytics, an executive program, which again I was kind of coordinating and so on. So we mounted that program and we included it in the application. And this program has just been mounted, when we AICT approved and all those things were there. By the time we were going with the process, luckily for us, fortunately, the program did really well. So we are 50 plus in the executive batch 1 year program. So what I see now, the result is that program has also been accredited by AACSB now.
Yeah, because you had included.
It sounds like, hotcake where
That's the degree granting program.
It's a 1 year, 15 months AICT approved
Okay.
PGDM,
PGDM, yeah, okay, good.
executive PGDM.
That's also,
Right, so it was just, it was a bet which worked in our favor that by the time the AACSB happened, we also got accredited for a program, so which later on is now probably helping them. I'm not very aware of the
Yeah.
facts there, but I'm sure an executive program analytics, the AACSB accreditation would be an icing on the cake.
yeah.
So I was thinking on those lines that, I don't know if we have something in plan, I have to discuss with sir, that can we also include a newer program for which we have confidence that it would work. Yeah. So,
No, even, see, my take is, even if it doesn't take off, it's okay. If you have plans, don't just put some things that it's not just a dream kind of thing. If you have definite plans,
yes, if we have thought of something, we have let down, we have worked down the structure and all of it.
yeah, so
Information is there.
depends upon what stage it is, whether it's going to be, you're going to start in the next year or two. If you're going to start some 3-4 years from now, then it's different. So if you're going to start something next 1 or 2 years, I think you should.
That was my first question.
Just
Program portfolio is something that we plan to look at as a part of the study.
see, here you have to talk about all the PGDMs and so on. And I didn't, postgraduate diplomas and AACT and so on. Because they won't understand, okay? So, of course, now they might understand because now they have enough schools in India accredited. So now they will understand. But earlier, they'll think, what is this PGDM and so on. Because diploma means they think it is not equivalent to a degree and so on. So now I think they have better understanding. But still, you should explain all that in this eligibility application. Okay. So, scope, which are the ones to be excluded and so on. Oversight, sustainability, and continuous improvement. There you have to give the organization chart, oversight responsibilities, who has what, policies and processes to support intellectual contributions. Over and up, sorry?
Isn't that the third point, a reputation?
It's reputation. They have some reputations. Reputations are there. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I think they deliberately put whether you give contradictory statements. Yeah, so there is some kind of repetitions will be there. But they're big on intellectual contributions and support the school gives. They know that everybody talks about intellectual contribution, but if they don't give support, then they'll be concerned.
We have written about our SDF, right? Staff Development Fund.
Yeah,
The monies that
goes.
the leave, the various types of research leaves.
And you should also give how much has been utilized, okay? Sometimes I found in some schools, they have the funds, but nobody is
How
using.
many faculty are going, that is also good.
Yeah,
So we will have to revise it for these 2 years, and because 3 years later now we need.
yeah, sure, yeah. Now, there'll be, you're right, there'll be repetitions here and there. I think partly it is intentional. They want you, so you have to be careful. What happens sometimes is, especially the self-evaluation report, institutions will say, school will say, you do chapter 1, somebody else will do chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on. Nobody looks at the whole thing. So in one chapter, somebody will say something and contradictory one in the other chapter. So that is where they catch you. So you have to have somebody looking at the overall thing.
Earlier one that is in a draft mode. So we 3 people, Mr. Raju, Mr. Nitin, and myself, we have spent 15 days, day and night here in my office to do
Okay.
this work. Because we were doing similarly for MAC, getting details, our faculty, many of them really did help in getting things overnight.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so it was really.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're good. If all of you work together and write, fine. But sometimes what happens is, especially self-evaluation report I have seen, people will, division of labor. So you do standards, because you have to talk about it. I'll do standards 1, 2, 3, somebody else will do. And somewhere along there'll be discrepancies. So the repetitions is, I think, partly
I
intentional.
would also suggest my colleagues, because we just submitted for data for NAC, and that is all online. And then we did another business it from JGU, so that has lot of data, lot of support material that can also be utilized.
See, it is not that one person should write all that. I'm not suggesting that. But there should be one person or a team, small team, who will look at the overall thing and see if there are any contradictions and so on within that. Maybe written by different sections, but there should be at least one or two people who look at it carefully, the whole thing, and see if there are contradictions. That is important. You don't want to have contradictions, then they'll think something wrong. Okay? Okay. Now, this is something is not, okay, financial resources available and in immediate future. Details of faculty members and sufficiency of faculty resources. Now,
In the financial resources, we should include our projections, right?
currently and the immediate future also, yes.
In terms of what will be our future
Yeah.
projection in terms of numbers and obviously.
Yeah, 3 years or so.
That will also be
So
part of
we have an
strategic
issue, we have an issue in financial resources. The financial resources are allocated some amount to the dean for his yearly spend.
Uh-huh.
The rest of it is done by HR for all this research and all that. And because financial, you will have to really work it out. The finances are totally for JGU, so we have a nice person here.
Ram Mohan Rao. Thank you.
And that really needs, because it is not distributed
Ah.
at certain level.
No. See, AACSB realizes in a university environment, the university allocates the budget. This is all over, that's what it is. I mean, but you put in some requests. I don't know how exactly it works here. Basically, the school says this is what we want, this is our budget, and so on. And the university will say no, yes and no, and some negotiations go on. And finally, the budget will be approved, and then that's what it is. So for the past, you have already the numbers you should give. For future is so more a projection what you're making, you're asking. You may or may not get all the amount. The university may not necessarily give you that. See, one big fight that happen in US universities, now things are changing because now management education is not the most sought of anymore. It is sort of leveled off and some even decrease and so on. But a few years ago, management education business schools were flush with funds. So university will say, they charge for the central resource, but in addition they say, it's like a cash cow, you must give so much to the university. The deans will say, no, we want it for our development and so on. So the tussle will go on. So they'll have to come to some agreement and so on. The university's argument, valid argument, they say, now you are in surplus, but earlier 10, 20, 30 years ago, you were not, we were supporting all that. Now you suddenly, because you're making more money, you can't say you'll keep everything to yourself. You have to support the other schools which are not as well off and so on. So its argument is legitimate on both sides, but you have to come to some understanding. AACSB realizes all this, that it is not. So when you talk about immediate future, this is what you expect, you have to say, but it's not clear what will happen. Okay. Sorry, we'll finish this in 5 minutes and then.
I can spend a little bit of time with him outside.
No, we can, I'll be almost there in 5 minutes. Okay. Previous year's financial information. Strategic plan is required. Two things that are this, one is strategic plan, that is clear. So you have to have the strategic plan. The other thing that's not very clear to me, it says details of faculty members and sufficiency of faculty resources. Now, if you look at standard 15, that means you have to have the classification of all the faculty, whether it's sufficient by programs and so on. Do they expect you to do all that and say it is sufficient? Not, or only some general statements that we have enough faculty, but not really. I'm not sure what they expect because in the eligibility application, but certainly you have to do at some point in time for your self-evaluation report. What is not clear to me is how much of detailed study you should have made to make statements about sufficiency of the program. They don't ask you for those tables, but some general statement about sufficiency of the faculty. How much you should have looked in, should you have classified each of the faculty members, looked at each program?
Faculty ratio would.
Yeah, some ratios and so on. So that is, we can get some clarification from the AACSB stuff. Yeah. Okay. And criterion F is basically you continue to adhere to standards and integrity of submission. Basically, you submit something and then you do something else or you change, and they want to reserve the right. If you're misrepresented, they may withdraw you from the process, or if you have given you accreditation, they may withdraw if they find that there was something, misrepresentation. This is basically their statement that you understand that you will continue to adhere to standards. You don't just sort of get the accreditation and then say, no, I don't care about any of these standards and so. You hire a lot of faculty, again I'm saying extreme cases, you got all this and then you fire all the most of the faculty, let's say. It doesn't happen, but I'm just saying. So basically they want to protect themselves and say that you know all these things. So then faculty composition and research activity, they have some tables that you have to fill out and so on, aggregate number, highest degree, full-time, part-time faculty, intellectual contributions. So they're interested in number of faculty also, it's not just the number of papers and so on, who have, because they don't want lopsided, only one person doing most of the research or few people and not the others and so. So really, you have all, yeah. Okay. An overview of the culture for faculty research and scholarly activities. Plans to align intellectual contributions to mission statements and so on. Then the other big thing they have gotten into now, engagement, innovation, and impact. So the engagement is academic. Typically, they used to be more worried about academic engagement, school process and so on, courses and student evaluation, things like that. But now they are also talking a lot, somewhat about professional engagement. So balance between the two is important, academic and professional. You don't want to be 100% academic only or 80, 90% professional, they don't like. But you say academic, maybe some 70, 80, I'm just showing some numbers, but the balance of professional engagement. They give examples of each of these and so on. When you read it more details, there are details available. Okay? So strategic innovation experimentation, what they say is, you must have quality and consistency, but don't be too risk averse. I'm afraid if I say, like for instance, you said, no, that program may or may not go. So if you want to be risk averse, you will say, no, we don't start, we're not sure, and so on. But they say if it is an innovative, good thing, take a risk. They say, they understand that if you don't take risk, you don't come. But take a risk after doing an appropriate study and so on. It may fail, but that's okay. But if it works, fine. But you should be quality and consistency, but it should not be at the risk of your taking risks completely. You have to maintain the quality, but it's a separate program, that's okay. It's not, your other programs are not going to affect it. But your school may lose some, I wouldn't say credibility, but some, taken one step back, or half a step back in the sense, you started a new program which didn't go, it doesn't, you don't feel good about it, but it's okay, you've taken a risk. Okay, impact on theory, this is important. What is the impact on theory? Just also practice and so on, business, society and so on. And assurance of learning, again here, I don't know exactly why this comes, but integrate into curriculum management and demonstrate how intellectual contribution is making a positive impact. That is something, the new thing, intellectual contributions, whether it is theory and how it's impacting, or it's for practice of management, how it's impacting and so on. You have to give some evidence, but these are some of the here you don't have to do that, a little bit only description, but when you actually go into the self-evaluation report and so on, that's where you will have to do a much more intensive study and so on. So contributions to business, society, and global community and so on. Now this, I don't know if I talked about, they're reviewing the standards. So there's a business accreditation task force. exposure draft number 1 will be presented at the Global Accreditation Conference in San Antonio, Texas, within a week, September 15 to 17. So we'll see the first draft of the new standards at that time or after that. I don't know when they will upload it and so on, but maybe we can talk to the AACSB team in Mumbai, ask them for some, if they have a copy and so on. Exposure draft number 2 is the Dean's Conference is in February, in 2nd to 4th at where?
I don't know the location.
Okay, 2nd to 4th. And ACB again big on, they don't want they've imposed these standards and so on. They're members, so they'll ask the members to vote on. They get feedback from the members. So finally when the standards are approved, they say this is approved by the members. So this is what we are following. We're not something, some 10 people or 20 people sat together and said this is what the standard should be and so on. And they're not imposing it on that. This is what the members have approved. So there'll be a vote in the members. Typically what happens is after this is approved, the vote will say yes, because members they get an idea of that, but they are not so deeply into seeing how each standard will work and so on. But whatever the presentation, whatever comes out of the Dean's Conference and they come up with revised standards will be approved in the April meeting. So it will be from April 2020, it will be new standards. Typically it will. Now, I don't know whether the eligibility application also will change. That is something we need to.
So these 15 standards were just revised only in July of 2018.
No. There's originally revised in 13, but some additions, some small things, changes and so on. So there may be big change was in 2013.
Yeah, big change in 2013.
Then some small changes between 2018 and so.
That was uploaded in one day.
Yeah.
They announced the next day it was up.
Yeah.
So what could be the possible changes?
No, we don't know, but these are some things, anticipated changes, not guaranteed. They're looking at the framework as, what are the guiding principles for accreditation, eligibility criteria they will look at, and accreditation standards. So we don't know what the changes in eligibility criteria are right now at least, but maybe after the September 15th meeting we will have some better idea. For constructs for standards, they want actually basically 3 structures: strategy, mission, and societal impact, learner success. So basically what is your strategy, mission, what impact you have is one, combining, or there may be several standards under each. Learner success, meaning how the students are learning, how participants are learning, and how faculty are developing themselves and so on, and thought leadership, publication, intellectual contribution. So they're saying number of standards they want to reduce perhaps to about 10, or it may end up 12, I don't know, but that is the idea. So basically, going one step in slightly more detail, in the strategy, mission, and societal impact, they say mission statement, appropriateness, possible, achievability, strategy to accomplish the mission, resources required and availability of resources, measures, metrics to monitor the progress, stakeholder involvement. AACSB is always big on stakeholder involvement and records and so on, who is approving authority, review process and things like that. So that would be one. Learner success, profile of students, retention, progression, achievement of students, curriculum, teaching methodology, quality of teaching, how do you measure this quality, learning goals and assurance of learning, I'm sure will remain, definitely, and closing the gap between specifications and achievement goals. So that will be the learner success. Whether they'll combine some standards or they'll keep the same standards, or what, that is not very clear. Okay. And thought leadership is basically faculty qualification profile, faculty sufficiency, research contributions, impact of research. They're becoming more on impact of research. So it was not there, say, 5, 6 years ago or so much, or 8 years ago. But now impact of research has become Impact can be both in terms of theory as well as in practice. Okay, management. And sustainability is important. That's it. Any other questions or comments?
So we are going to do on this trip or later we are going to do this planning of like what all things we need to accomplish.
That's what we're saying, that that's later after the day.
Later on the day today.
Yeah. So I don't know, is he going to make a presentation? We had, who was that who came? Jiju.
Yeah, he's outside talking to Deepak.
Yeah.